Welcome to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Well, welcome to Money Mentors and welcome officially to winter and snow. It was like for a month or so there, we didn't really have any of it. And I did miss it. I was one of those people that was sad we didn't have it yet because we're skiers. But man, it's here now and I'm just cold, so I'm just trying to be excited to hit the slopes.
Well, we were just talking before the show, Laurel. No matter where you go, especially over the last couple of weeks, it's been cold everywhere. Even some of the snowbirds that I know you work with in Florida have been cold too. So there's just no escaping it sometimes this time of year.
That's just it. You know, we went to a conference and we were in Nashville. And I tell you what, they're very different than Grand Rapids, Michigan, because they shut down the whole street. And then the next day I saw them shoveling snow. They were shoveling it into wheelbarrows and then taking the wheelbarrows away. I was like, I think there might be a more efficient way.
Right? They could learn something from Grand Rapids, perhaps. But
right? To each their own.
Yeah, whatever snow removal system you have, you're using it this winter. You're right. We got a break. And then all of a sudden it seems like everywhere, everything is white and cold this time of year.
Yep.
I'm glad you brought up this trip to Nashville, Laurel, because I know our listeners here, a lot of people have been listening for years to Money Mentors, and your Money Mentors, not just to our listeners, but also to your clients, and then also to others in the financial industry too. In fact, you just got back from that conference where you met with others who kind of do the same kind of things you do, but they do it in offices around the country. What did you take away from this conference? Because I know you, Gary, the entire team, you're all about continuing to learn yourselves.
Absolutely. This industry is ever changing, whether that's tax rules, RMD age, or every year we know that there are different contribution limits. You know, you name it, they're changing it, and we have to keep up on it. So it's really important to network and understand what's happening out there and what opportunities are there, because we are across the country now. We aren't just in Michigan. And so we need to make sure we're doing the best for our clients in Florida and in Arizona and Hawaii, etc. And just being a light when you really look around a room of other retirement advisors, I just think it's so important to be true to ourselves and true to our clients, and that's offering the best retirement advice that there is out there. And that's not focused on a product, and that's not focused on one little solution. It's really a big, meaty, enhanced plan that talks about, you know, your investments and your interest. But what about taxes and income flow, Social Security, health insurance, who should own what, who gets what upon your passing, you know, all those beneficiary and ownership pieces. So we really look at all of those things because it impacts your one retirement plan.
Real life lessons about your retirement. You're listening to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Well, here's another fun item on your to-do list. Tax season officially begins as the IRS begins processing returns. Let's not to get too excited there, Laurel, but I think if you're like most of us and still gathering those documents and getting ready for it, and I know you and Gary actually do get excited this time of year because of all these opportunities. But how do you help people diversify in those different tax buckets, especially this time of year as we're thinking about this?
Yeah, I think it's really important to shed light on it now because like you said, Jennifer, we're all focused on it. And I will say I encourage you to keep up on this throughout the year and not think of it as just tax time as one time. Then maybe it wouldn't be such a burden either, such a sigh if you have to think about it. But she's right. We're in low tax rates, historically low. In 2026, those go bye-bye and probably increase, right? Because we're just adding trillions of dollars of debt. And the only way for that tax bill to come due, they're not going to, likely, right? They're not going to change Social Security or Medicare and things like that. They're going to change taxes, and that's going to affect you and I. So before we get to that, what can we do now to prepare for that? We know that the tax rates changed now in 2024 from what they were in 2023, you know, standard deductions, things like that. So it's a good time to look at it and say, here's my tax return. Make sure that tax return is being seen by your advisor and make sure that your advisor and your tax preparer are having conversations. This is where we come in. You know, we really take this ownership on and we love that because we want to make sure that everybody who has an interested party, right, of your retirement plan is working in your best interest. That's our fiduciary obligation. And so we're going to look at this to say, okay, Jennifer, last year you had X. We're looking at doing this for this year. We think you've got some room within this 12% tax bracket before you'd go into the 20-some. What if we looked at taking a chunk of your IRA, paying taxes on it, and then it's now a Roth IRA, and now that gets to grow tax-free forever as long as we take out in the ways that we should, adhere to some of those rules. Mm-hmm. This is good for everybody to look at. I'm not saying it's right for everybody to implement, but it just depends, because if you're sitting in your 50s or 60s and you have qualified funds, that means required minimum distributions are going to be on your radar in the 70s.
Right.
And are you going to kind of be handcuffed to saying, hey, I'm at a point now in my 70s that I have to take those RMDs out. I don't even need them, but I'm paying taxes on them. And that's a rough spot to be in. I actually had this conversation with a radio listener a couple weekends ago. She had called in and said, I'm paying taxes on this money that I'm getting and I don't need it. What are my options? And I just was so happy to hear her call in and ask for help and look to see what other things can be done, right? What else can we do to mitigate that tax moving forward, but take care of you now?
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Matson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Matson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Matson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.